Hi, welcome back to Country Basket Weaving. I'm your hostess, Sandy Atkinson. Today is April. We're going to be working on our Easter basket. I have lots of beautiful colors in this basket, beautiful Easter pastel colors. I think you'll really enjoy making this one. You're going to need for this pattern 1/2 inch flat, cut 10 pieces 22 inches long, cut 7 pieces 26 inches long, and cut 1 piece about 70 inches long. From number 2 round reed that you've dyed pink, purple, yellow, and green, cut 36 pieces, 9 pieces of each color, 20 inches long. You're also going to need 3/16 inch flat, dyed the purple, pink, yellow, and green. And I dyed about 1/4 pound of each color in each of the sizes. You'll also need 3mm cane and 1.5 by 36 inch handle filler. I've already laid out my base to save time. I've taken my 7 pieces that are 26 inches long and I've laid the tip underneath the spoke weight. I first wove in my long 70-inch piece, that's going to be my handle. I wove that through the middle. And then I wove my 5 pieces, they're 22 inches long. I wove 5 above the handle and 5 below the handle. And I have the last one to weave in for you. Before you lay them out though, mark your centers on the wrong side. Remember how we find our wrong center. We find the wrong side, line up the ends, and then put a pencil mark up here on the wrong side for this pattern. Go ahead and weave this last piece in. I have put some guidelines on here for myself. This base needs to be 5.5 by 9.5. So I put some guidelines on here, little pencil marks, so I'll know where to end my last piece that I wove in. I did the same thing on the side so that I can get this nice and the measurements nice and even. After I have woven that last piece in, I'm going to take 4 clothespins and clamp out the corners just to hold everything together until I get ready to twine. The base is just a basic twine. Pick out one of your 4 colors, a piece of number 2 round. I always crimp off center, which means I have 2 different end lengths of my reed here. Draw it up here and put a crimp. Again, we're doing this to break down the fibers so the reed doesn't break. Starting over here, I'm going to choose this weaver. I always choose one that's woven under so that it'll lock in place. A basic twill, or pardon me, a basic twine is over one and behind the next spoke. Always taking my left spoke over one and behind the next one. Pack these in tight, right next to your spoke. When you come to your corner, remember we have regular and irregular corners. This one's an irregular because this reed slides underneath, so we want to lock it in. I'm going to take the left piece around first, then come and get the right piece, pull everything tight, then just continue right on the pattern. Always taking that left one. Sometimes it's kind of tight to get in there, so use a tool, an awl or a knitting needle, something to help push that up in there, and it'll be really tight. You're going to weave 2 rows all the way around the basket. And I'm going to go on to my next piece with my 2 rows already done. Now that my 2 rows are done, it's real easy to take and just snip off the 2 ends here. We'll trim them back later, so just let them hang in there. After you have your twining done on the base, you're going to bend up each one of the spokes. This is called upsetting the basket. And I like to take the 4 pieces at each corner and clamp them up. This just helps in the shaping of the basket as we continue to weave. So I'm going to do this. On the base I have 1/2 inch flat. I'm going to take out a wet piece and we're going to weave 2 rows. I have a bad end here. When you have a bad end, simply give it a cut, a snip off. I know we have to work with these long pieces, that handle piece, so just kind of push it out of the way. I like to turn it up on its side and start my weaving on the side. Again, now watch for your right side. You always want the right side of your reed out. I like to come back to my basic pattern on the bottom and I weave opposite. So this piece is over, so I need to be under the piece at the side. Always start the weaving on top on the outside, and I like to clamp it with a clothespin. You're going to weave over and under. When you come to your corner, take your corner off, weave around the corner, and put the corner back up. You're going to need to leave this corner on for the first 3 or maybe 2 to 3 rows. Turn around. And you're going to weave this piece all the way around the base of the basket. Now that I have finished that first row, I'm back to where I started. I need to make sure my weaver's right on top of the piece that I started on over here. And you're going to weave over 4. One, on the piece right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to hide that end behind the 4th spoke. And I like to put a clothespin here. It looks really sloppy now because there's not anything to hold it together, but it'll take shape as we continue to weave the sides. Flip the basket over and go ahead and start the next row. Remember to start on top. Now that I have finished my 2 rows of 1/2 inch flat, I'm going to flip the basket and start my 4-rod wale on this side. And to do 4-rod wale, I have 4 lengths, 4 strands of the number 2 round reed in each of the colors that I'm using in this basket. I have green, purple, yellow, and pink. And to do the 4-rod wale, I'm going to place 1 strand in between 4 consecutive spokes. And I like to hold them back here with my left hand until I get them established, and then I can let go of the weavers back here. Taking my first strand on the far left, I'm going over 3 and behind the 4th. Picking up my next left strand, over 3, behind the 4th, and back to the outside, over 3, and then here's my last one. Now that they're established in there, I can let go of them back here. Continue the weave, over 3, around the 4th, take off my clothespin at the corner. This twining here will hold everything together, so I can leave my clothespins off now. But as I weave, I'm pulling that 1/2 inch flat down, keeping everything packed in tight. And I'm going to do 3 rows with these colors. 3 rows of 4-rod wale, always picking up that left one, going over 3 and behind the 4th. So go ahead and get your 4 rows done, and I'm going to take out the next set of baskets and show you the finished. I've done my 3 rows here, and I'm going to show you how to end them. I'm taking this last weaver from the left side, and I'm placing it inside and leaving it there. Don't bring it back out to the front. The same way with this one on the next spoke over. And I'm going to start this 4 rows back from where I began, so that I'm ending it on the same spokes that I started it with. And this is my last one, and it tucks down in there. And that makes it continuously 3 rows around. Now, the next step is to add your handle insert. And this is a handle insert. They always come 36 inches, which is too long for this basket. So I'm going to place it next to my handles where it's going to be inserted and kind of get an idea of how high I want that handle to be. And Easter baskets are usually kind of high on handles, so I'm going to make this a taller handle. On this one, I'm going to need to cut off about 2 inches. So I'm going to pull this out, and it cuts off real easy. I'm just going to eyeball it about 2 inches and just give it a cut with some good sharp scissors. Bring it over here and kind of eyeball where the 2 inches are on this side and cut it off. Now, if you're unsure, go ahead and measure the 2 inches. On the inside of the basket, using a basket tool or a flathead screwdriver, I'm going to open up the weavers on the long handle piece on the inside here and work that into that handle insert down into the basket. Okay? Now, that's on the inside. On the outside, on the other side of the basket, is where I work the second handle, or the second end of it. Open it up with a screwdriver, insert the end, and I like to put it underneath my screwdriver, work it down in there. If you go too far, simply push it back up so it's flat with the basket here. Now, taking the inside handle piece, put it right flush against the handle insert. Use your clothespins to hold it in place. Bring the opposite end down And you can see that now this one's a little bit too long, so I'm going to have to cut it off. I'm going to hide the end underneath this weave right in here is where I want to hide that. So I'm going to cut it just a little bit shorter than the length of that weaver on the bottom. Open this up. I'm going to open up my twining and then go down to my weaver and insert down into there. And make sure this is flush. Now this one might slip down in there. Make sure that's real tight against that handle insert. The very same thing on the outside piece. Bring it around. And again, this one's a little bit too long. I'm going to bring the piece up here and cut the end. And I'm going to insert here and hide that in there. Now, on the outside long handle piece, you're going to run it again right next to the handle insert and run it down here. Now, because of this end sticking out here from my handle insert, I don't like that to show. So what I'm going to do is work this underneath the weavers and come and hide the end down here on the bottom underneath this weaver here. So get your measurement and go ahead and cut it just a hair shorter than where we're going to tuck it. Come back up here, insert your tool or your flathead screwdriver and work that piece down in there. Slide that filler back up if it got out of line. Line everything back up. Turn your basket over, and on the bottom you're going to insert and hide that end underneath that weaver right there, underneath that spoke on the bottom. Okay? Now that we have our handle filler in, all in place, kind of make adjustments, pull everything down, keep everything down in there tight. We're going to start a twill weave. I have a twill built on the side. It doesn't matter which color you start with. We're using this 3/16 flat. Again, I always want the outside to be the smooth side, so make sure you choose the smooth side. And starting anywhere, you're going to always start on top, but I'm behind 2 here. I'm going to start this piece over here, clamp it off, and then it's over 2 or under 2, over 2, under 2. This is a long piece. Over 2, under 2, over 2, under 2, all the way around. Be careful you don't pull your corners too tight. Over 2, under 2. And if I haven't made a mistake, I should come out and be right at the same weave that I started with, and I am right here. Go ahead and come over that piece to hide that end. Weave over now 2 sets because we're doing these in 2. So I'm going to hide the end over here. Go ahead and cut it off a hair shorter than where it's going to tuck and hide. Take out your next color, and again, I don't care what colors you use in here. You can just use them, pick them at random, but keep the 4 colors in sequence after you establish your colors here. Okay, again, I'm going to look for my right side. Flip my basket over so I'm never starting twice in the same spot. And I'm going to find where I have woven over 2. And right here I have woven over these 2. Take my reed between them, and then go back 2, and then on top of 2, and hide that end, or clamp that end there, and that's where we'll hide it. Not looking at this row now, just paying attention to my 2s, and over 2, under 2, over 2, and under 2. And go ahead and continue this pattern. You're going to do a total of 10 rows here. You're going to do the sequence of 4 twice, and then do 2 extra rows, but follow the color sequence that you're using on your side pattern. Now I have my 10 rows woven in here, and on top of that I put 3 more rows of the 4-rod wale in the 4 color strands. Then I did 2 more rows of the 1/2-inch flat, just like we did at the beginning, and then I finished with 2 rows of natural reed on top of that. And when you have all that done, then you're going to cut and tuck. And I've cut and tucked all of my spokes already to save time, and I only have 2 left to show you how to do that. You're going to simply bend these over your 2 rows of twining, and those are just 2 regular rows of twining. Come inside, and you're going to tuck them down into your twill weave on the inside. You have your twining at the top. You can tuck under that and into a couple rows of your colors down here. And this one is going to do the very same thing. I have a 1/2 inch flat here, so I'm going to tuck down into that 1/2 inch flat and then down into my twining. Every one has to be tucked down because of the twining we did on the top. Well, having trouble getting that one tucked down in there. But go ahead and get those all tucked in. Okay? Now that you have your top all tucked in, you're going to need to wrap your handle. Taking out your caning that's been soaking, we're going to start a basic solid wrap. This is the wrong side of my cane here. It's the shiny side. This is the right side of my cane, the shiny side. Place it next to the basket, to the handle, with the wrong side up. I place it up there a couple inches. Then I'm going to do what I call a miter and bring up the right side, and I'm going to do just a solid wrap. I'm going to do this solid wrap for a couple of inches. Now that I've got up a couple of inches, I have a little tail here. Let's go ahead and cut that tail out, get it out of the way, and I'm going to insert my colors. I've chosen 3 of my colors here in that 3/16, and I'm going to catch one of the tips underneath the wrap. Go ahead and place another color, slide it down in there, and place the 3rd color. So I have these all next to each other. Do a couple of wraps to hold them in place. Now we're going to start that handle wrap, which is a real decorative finish to the basket. Starting here, I'm going to go under my first one, which happens to be yellow, go under my first color and over the next 2 colors. On the next wrap around, I'm going under my yellow and my pink, so I'm under 2 and I'm over the purple, or my 3rd color. Then I'm going to come around and I'm going to go underneath all 3 colors. Come back around here. Now I'm going to be over 1, over my yellow, under my 2 other colors. Come around here, I'm going to be over 2, my yellow and my pink, and under my last color. Come back around here, and I'm going to be over all 3 colors. Now the pattern from here out is the very same. I'm going to be under the yellow, the first wrap, once, and then the next wrap I will be under the 2 and then under the 3. Just continue that pattern to the other side until you're about 2 inches where we have to go into our solid wrap again. When you've got the 2 inches done and you've gone into the solid wrap, go ahead and give yourself the length here. You need about 6 to 8 inches, so just cut off that length and get rid of it. Coming back into here, unloosen. I'm working on the outside of the basket. I'm unloosening about 3 to 4 of those strands, inserting the end up in there, taking my thumb and working that tight again, each one of those wraps, back tight. Give a pull up here, and I like to pull this as I clip it off so that it'll kind of recede back in there, and that's how you end that. Now that you have your end finished here, tip your basket on its side, and you're going to take out those 20-inch pieces that we've cut and have them ready to go out of the number 2 round, and we're going to insert them for the top braid. I open up a space here on top of one of my spokes and insert. I've got the yellow one inserted there. Skip over a spoke and come over to this one. Open that one up and insert this one in there. Draw up the ends so the ends are even, and have this loop about halfway between your bottom 1/2 inch flat reed here. Come over to the one you skipped, add your second color. Doesn't matter which colors you're adding as long as you keep the pattern going once you have the colors established. And you're going over next to the yellow one here and pull up the ends and have these ends, the loops here, the same distance. Work all the patterns around it, and I'll show you where I've got these already done. Now that I've got almost all of my number 2 round colors inserted here, I want to show you how to put in the very last one. You're going to have 2 spokes coming out of each of your twining here at the top. The last one, which is my purple one here, I've joined over here with this one, And I need to slide under the yellow in order to follow that scalloped pattern. So on that last one, make sure you go under your last loop and then up. And again, you're going to pull these ends up and have that loop just about in the middle of that half-inch piece. And then all your loops should be even. Make sure they're all even. Make any needed adjustments. Re-wet if you have to, because remember you have to keep this top very wet. Now, taking two spokes together and treating them as one, you're going to go behind the next set to the right and to the outside. Make sure that your two spokes lay right together. Don't let any twist be in there on them, because that will kind of spoil the beauty of this braid. And work this all the way around. Now that I've worked this pattern all the way around, I'll show you how to end the last couple. Make sure you're on the outside of your handle and you're keeping everything nice and straight, not twisted. The last one, this one goes behind, is going to go behind and slide right into here in that last loop. Actually, it's your first loop, and as you pull it, make sure everything lays flat. The next step to this braid, again, it's an easy two-step braid. Go under one, starting anywhere, go under one, and right in to that hole underneath the two sets together. So I'm taking this one and going right in to the next hole there. Go ahead and work this all the way around, and I will show you again how to end it. Now that I've finished my weave, or almost finished, I'm back here to where I started. I'll show you how to end this one. Again, I'm picking up one to the right of it, and I'm going underneath that one to the inside. And I'm being very careful I keep these laying flat. And the last one, the second to the last, can insert there, and my very last one is going to insert in here. Okay? Oops, I'm a little twisted here. I'm going to straighten that out. Now we're ready to start the inside weave, which is basically the very same thing we did on the outside. It just feels a little different because we're working inside and at a different angle. Pick up two weavers anywhere inside, pick up the two in front of it, and go under and up. Come over and get the next two. The one in my left hand goes under and up. Pick up the next two, under and up with the left hand, and work this pattern all the way around the basket. Okay? When you're back to where you started, simply pull out the first one you started with and slide it under and up and out. Then to do the very last step, again, pull the one in front of it and go right down in between. Work that pattern all the way around, and then just take your scissors and do the trim work on it. You'll need to trim it on the outside probably and on the inside, and trim off all of these. Next week we're going to be working on our Mother's Day basket, and it's a Mother's Day sewing basket. I hope you'll enjoy this one. It has a lid and a knob on it. Again, I've used lots of pretty colors. We'll look for you next week. Have a wonderful week.